Alright guys, so today what I want you to do is I want you to go to page 48. We are going to look at our theorems again with just one little problem from each just to practice and make sure that we know what's going on. And then you're going to work on your assignment just like yesterday. Okay? So this says that if a line is parallel to one side of a triangle, it splits the other two sides proportionally. And we just did this yesterday. But in case you've forgotten, in the whole 24 hours you've been out of math class, that if these two are parallel, that means that AB divided by BC is equal to AD divided by DE, or you can flip it, which either way. You can also, fun fact, you can also take these two sides, this whole side here. Well, let's talk about this in a minute. Let's go down here and look at this problem. So, let's look at this problem right here, and let's find x before we find y. Now, the first thing I would do is I would set up a proportion using these sides. Now, these two are parallel. That does not mean that they're congruent. They are parallel. They never touch. So we're going to set up our proportion, and we're going to do 5 divided by 3 equals 10 divided by x. How would we solve that? We would cross multiply. Now, you can also use your proportions just like we did before with our triangles, with the bases. Now, this has two triangles in it. You have your top triangle and then your entire triangle. And we know that 6 is proportional to y. Now, this is the baby triangle and this is the whole triangle, and we're going to use this left side. So the baby side length is 5, and that's going to go on top. And then we need to get this entire side length right here, this one right here, and that would give us 8. Now the reason we need that 8 is because we use the entire base of our triangle. Now it's a proportion, cross multiply. And then divide, and you get y equals 48/5. We are not afraid of fractions, leave it that way. If you need to pause it. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, our parallel. If two or more parallel lines are intersected by two or more transversals. So we got parallel lines right here. It's beautiful. They are intersected. We then have proportional parts. Our parallel lines are cut proportionally. Are we ready? The converse is also true. Your transversals are also divided proportionally. So you can have these divided into segments, or this guy right here and this guy right here, those are your transversals. They can be divided proportionally. It's amazing. Let's look at our example. Okay. Now it tells us in baby tiny letters that LM is parallel to NO, which is parallel to PQ. Now let's look for X. We're going to do 12 divided by X because those are on the same side. These two are proportional to each other because these are parallel. Now if I start with 12 here, what am I going to start with here on the right? 16. And then what do? I cross multiply. Dun, 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 dun. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Alright, let's look at our next problem. It tells us that all of these are parallel. Isn't it magic? So we are going to use our proportional parts, and we're going to go crazy on this one, okay? Now, all of our parts are proportional. that means this top one is proportional to the bottom one, as well as to the middle. Now, since this is y, we don't want two different variables in our problem. That would be ridiculous. So let's do x divided by 8 equals, so those are on the same side. What would we do over here? 3 divided by 9. We cross multiply, and x would equal, and I'm trying to learn how to write smaller, guys, I promise. Leave it as a fraction. Circle, box, heart, star, baby Jesus, your answer. And let's find y. Now with y, we don't care about this top part. All we need is this bottom part down here to be able to solve it. So we have 4 divided by 8 equals 7 divided by, ooh, that's a y. It would not have made sense was it a 7. Super sorry. Now, how do we solve this? We cross multiply. And then we divide. And what goes into both of those? 4. All right, what's 36 divided by 4? 8 divided by 4? If you need to pause it, pause it. Otherwise, let's move on. Ready? So all you're doing is you're just creating proportions every single time, like we've done through this whole unit. Create proportions. That's been the whole point of the unit. Create proportions. Look at the picture, match it up. Figure out that these two sides go together, so these two sides go together. If we don't want to use this y, use the other part. Use your brains. The angle bisector. Alright, if it bisects the angle, that means that the sides are then proportional. So if this bisected right here, you could have proportional sides. This problem right here went crazy with some exterior angles, and we don't need that in our life right now. Let's look at this problem down here. Now, it tells us the angle CAD. And remember, we highlight these if we need to label it. Is congruent to DAB. I wonder how many of you just said DAB. Alright, now if these two are congruent, let's put rainbows. That means that we have proportional sides. Sorry guys, had to try to adjust the camera angle. So, since these are congruent, that means you have proportional sides. So 4 divided by x equals 5 divided by 12. And then you just cross multiply. You would get 5x equals 48. And then you would divide by 5, and we have 48/5. Awesome. Now, work on your partner sheet, then do your Dalmatians. Have a great weekend. I love you so much. I will see you on Tuesday. Be good people. Try not to annoy the sub. Have a good day.